So we are going to be transforming an image from this to this. Finding out that you've got an awful color balance in one of your clips after your production can be really, really frustrating. However, DaVinci Resolve has some tools, and if you've got the techniques, you can balance this out and get the most out of that image. So today we're going to be looking at how to balance out color, noise, and exposure in the same clip. Not only that, we're also going to be breaking some rules, and I'm going to show you what rule it is, when to break it, and why you should too. So if you want to find out more, let's jump into DaVinci Resolve and let's get cracking. Here we are in DaVinci Resolve. We are in the color page. This is the clip that we're going to be working with. As you can see over here on the scopes, it is underexposed, and we also have this awful yellowy green color cast to this image. And if we actually zoom in really close, this image is also really, really quite noisy as well. So we're going to need to be really careful with what we do. So we're just going to reset this back to normal. And to do that, we're going to go up to this little corner here, click this little drop down and press fit, and that's going to make sure that the clip fills up our viewer. So as you can see, the only thing that we have on our node is one node, and it has this little box, and this little box means that we have a LUT. So let's right click this, let's scroll down to reveal selected LUT. Let's click that, and you can see here that we have an ARRI LogC to a gamma 24 Rec 709 D65. Now this LUT comes from the ARRI website, and all this is a technical transformation from that ARRI log space out to a Rec 709 display space. That's all it is. So we're going to get rid of this. So let's go up to here, let's click this LUT up here, and that's going to get rid of those drop down menus, and now we can start our grading. So the first thing we need to do is we need to come over to our node here. We're going to right click, we're going to add node, add serial before, and click that. And we're going to drag this across to here on a node graph. We're just going to add two more. So we're going to right click, add serial, right click, and add serial. So I'm just going to label these quickly. So this one is going to be our exposure. This one is going to be our contrast. And now this one is going to be our color. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to come up here to our exposure. So we're going to come down here to our offset, and now we're just going to roll that up to increase our exposure. So I think if we go up to about here, that's looking quite good. So if we're looking at the image here, you can note over here on the scopes that we do have quite a lot of room in our shadows, and we also have some in our highlights as well. So to combat that, we're going to come across to our next node, to our contrast, and we're just going to roll our contrast up. And I think we should go to about here. And now we're just going to get our pivot, and we're just going to roll that down to compress that image. And I think let's go to about here. So let's just turn this contrast off and on. So by doing that, you can see here in the image, we have compressed the mids into the shadows, and you can note that on the scopes here. It's now looking a little bit dark for my liking. So let's head across to the exposure node, and let's just gently roll this up. And I think if we go to about there, just being mindful of the peak white over here, and I think that's good. So our next task is the biggie. It's taking care of this color cast. So we're going to come across to our color node here. We're going to click that. We're also going to come down to this little icon here, our three little dots with this little tiny arrow, and we're going to click this. This brings us to our RGB mixer. On the surface, it looks really confusing. However, all you really need to know is that we have a red output, a green output, and a blue output. And within those outputs, we've got a red, a green, and a blue channel. So all this really means is that we can isolate the red, green, or blue pixels, and then we can manipulate those pixels with either pulling or pushing out red, green, or blue. This is the best way to fix an awful color cast in your image, and I'm going to show you exactly how we're going to do it now. So as mentioned before in that image, we've got an awful yellowy green cast, and you can note that on the scopes here where we've got a compressed blue and a raised red, and the greens are kind of sitting in between the middle of the two. So that means I feel that we need to come to our blue output, and we need to raise our blue channel up. And what we're essentially saying to DaVinci Resolve, we want to remove all of this yellow in the blue channel by increasing the blue. So let's just roll that up, and I think there is good. So let me just turn this node off and on so you can see what I mean. And it has actually also pulled the green down, and we've also pulled the red down a little bit. But because we've pulled the blue up so much, we have this magenta-y pinkish cast. So in order to combat that, we're now going to head over to our red output. We are going to bring down the red in the red channel. So let's just gently roll that down. And what we're looking for is we're looking for a better balance of the red, green and blue in our parade on the scopes here. So let's just come back to that red channel over here and let's just roll this down a little bit further. And now, as you can see, we have done just 2 moves in the RGB mixer. So let's go across to our color node here and let's just turn that off and on. And you can see that we have absolutely transformed this image. So quickly, if you are getting anything out of this video, it'd mean the world to me if you could subscribe and leave me a comment down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you. All we need to do now is just to make our other adjustments. So we're just going to come across to our color node. We're going to click add node, add serial, and we're going to drag this over to here. So earlier I mentioned that we're going to be breaking the rules, and the rule that we're going to be breaking is usually you should do your secondary operations underneath your primary operations. So essentially it should go here. However, we're actually going to be doing our secondary operations after our primary operations, and I'm going to show you why. So let's click on our color node, let's right click, let's add a node, let's add a parallel. Now let's remove this string, and now let's take this green triangle and add it to our output. This is essentially what our secondary is. To do the skin, what we're going to do is we're going to come up, we're going to go to our color, we're going to right click, we're going to come down to our presets, and we are going to press 6 vector red. So let's click that. So what I also want to do is I just want to copy this, and I just want to paste this on that node over here. So now we're going to come up to our highlight mode. We're going to click that. And now we're going to click our light and dark mode, because I just want to show you this key. So this is going to be our key after our primary adjustments. But if we were supposed to do it the way that the rule said, and we click this, you can see here we do not have as good as key as we do with this one. I just need to reset this 1 second. So before I explain the reason for it, I'm just going to come up to our highlight mode. I'm going to click this off so we go back to our normal image. So if we turn off this color cast here, like so, you can see if we was to do our qualifier underneath our primaries, we would actually be trying to qualify the skin on this image. Whereas if we do our qualifier on this node, we're actually doing it on this image here. So we're just going to come down to our saturation down here. We're just going to roll that off very gently. So now we're going to come to our gain here, and we're just going to take this and we're just going to push this into the warmth and slightly up away from the green. Actually, we probably need to reduce this saturation a touch more. So let's go to about here. So let's turn that off and on. So we haven't done a huge amount to her face, but just wanted to demonstrate where you should do your qualifier on an image like this. So now that we've done that, we're going to go to our qualifier node. We're going to right click, we're going to add a node, add a serial, and we are going to come down to our noise reduction, which is over here. We're going to click this. We're going to scroll down and click AI Ultra Noise Reduction. So we're going to press that, and now we're going to press Analyze. We're going to take this box, which is here, and we're going to place it under a chin, because I think this is the noisiest place in the image. Now, the one thing that you will notice here, so let's go full screen, this image is looking quite plasticky or quite waxy, and it's not the image that I want. However, the AI noise reduction is the best noise reduction in DaVinci Resolve at the moment. So let's click away from there. So instead of messing around with the noise profile down here, what we're actually going to do is we're going to come over to our key output over here. We're going to click that. We're going to come down to our key output over here, and we're just going to roll this down to about 0.5. So this is going to give us half strength of that AI noise reduction. So by reducing the AI noise reduction to half without pressing the noise profile or messing around with the noise profile, we've got a really good compromise on the image. However, because the image is still a little bit noisy, what we're actually going to do is we're going to add one more node. So we're going to right click, add node, add a serial. We're going to come up to the OFX here. We're going to click this little magnifying glass, and we're going to type in GAR. I'm going to take the film grain and just pop this on here. Now, I don't want a 16mm grain, so let's come across to the presets. Let's click this and let's roll down, and let's use the 35-400T. And I think you'll agree that this image is looking absolutely fantastic and 50 times better than where it was before. So that's all we've got time for today. If you are still here and you've been following along, thank you so much. Do remember to subscribe and leave me a comment, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. In the meantime, do check out the episode over here, how to get the most out of your Rec. 709 footage. But in the meantime, I'll catch you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.